It's time for Takes on Takes, the episode where we give our take on your take today on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Crabbs from Locked On Dolphins. And we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to issue a big thank you, shout out, and welcome to our everydayers. Those of you who never miss a single episode, I appreciate y'all being here very, very much. Today, I know you were. I knew you. I knew we appreciate. I always. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. Welcome, Kyle Crabbs. It's good to have you here
with me
on a daily basis as the co-host.
Do you appreciate me being here as the co-host of the show? Or
so much.
Appreciate the people joining you here on the program.
So much. Or anytime I do something out of rhythm in my life, that's when the mistakes happen, right? So we're recording this episode much later. Yeah. So, it's a possibility, and I my sincerest apologies for it.
Don't apologize to me.
You're grateful for the everydayers as well, right? That's the whole
Correct.
point.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that they know that.
They should know that. Yeah. I mean, and today is all about them, right?
Yeah.
I feel like we've got more ball spikes this year with takes.
They're coming with them. I'm not ready to acknowledge them yet. It's week 4, right?
Right.
So
it's still a little early. Like the Texas wide receiver, the most receiving yardage this year. It's a little early for ball spikes there, right?
Right.
So we see the ball spikes. It just sounds like Joe hasn't curated them for the list. I have a take to start.
Oh, okay.
I just put it in the chat. It's a link if you haven't seen it.
It's gonna be the four. I figured.
FIU, Miami Vice.
Yeah, they're good. They're good. There's no
good,
question.
Right?
I've seen a lot of bad iterations of this. These are good. Yeah. I especially like the sleeves. I think that's a really good accent to it. It's good. The whole thing's good.
The palm tree texture on the
super good.
And they do have pants stripes. To be full transparent, I know how you feel about that, but it's still kind of that like.
No, I don't have a problem with pants stripes.
Two-tone
panels on the jersey
pattern.
Yeah, I'm down.
And someone with the FIU sports department has already confirmed the next update to NCAA 25 will have these alternative uniforms in for FIU.
Very good news for those of you who play the college game on the game box.
The game boxes.
Yeah. All right.
So how's the pumpkin patch?
Pumpkin patch was terrific, Kyle Crabbs.
We acknowledged the pumpkin patch pre-show and here on the show, but I don't think we actually talked about the experience of how many pumpkins did you come home with?
3. One. Well, we could have brought 4, but we only brought 3 home. So
you should have one for each member of the family, right? Like,
which is exactly the case. But we went and got the car, and so we only had 3 there, and I wasn't about to get a 4th one and have to explain to the guy like, hey. My wife will be here in just a minute. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to finesse the pumpkins. So I was like, we'll be fine with 3 pumpkins. It'll be
so it was baked in. You get a pumpkin.
Yeah, it's part of the field trip.
Each person gets a pumpkin.
Yeah.
But your 4th party wasn't there when they were handing out
there.
Got it.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm not doing this. I'm not explaining this. I don't want any questions. I don't want to talk to this guy for any longer than I have to. So we got our 3 pumpkins we got going.
Great. You get a carving?
These are little pumpkins, Kyle. Eventually, we will carve some pumpkins. And
you eat the seeds?
Oh yeah, I'm a big fan.
They're like the way to go, right? Like put them in the oven and dry them out, and you put salt on them.
Yeah.
Put anything else on them?
No, I don't think you need anything else.
I don't think you do either. I don't know.
Some people season them up,
Yeah.
Shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
We got a lot of popular people that submit a lot of takes. They came with good stuff today.
The everydayers came with takes.
They did. Dolphins craze. He says this is a spicy take. I don't think it is. I just agree with it. Nico Collins may just be a top 5 wide receiver in football. Hill, Jefferson, Lamb, Chase are the only guys definitively better. He also has the best valued contract in the league, excluding rookie deals. Absolutely, right? The only question is, are you bumping one of these guys off to put Collins in for sure as a top 5?
I would not. I think he's a top 10 wide receiver right now. Comfortably. But I don't think I'd bump him off for any of those other 5 guys right now.
He's right there for me. His contract's
he's
$10 million less than these guys, man. It's crazy.
Right. Now, I don't know about best value contract. There's some guys that are probably on like 1-year deals that are going to be getting really nice contracts with their next contracts.
These other receivers are getting 30, mid-30s up to 35. Like,
get your contracts done early. It's not hard. Right? If you have guys that you know are going to be here and you want to sign them, don't wait. Or else you're going to pay CeeDee Lamb probably $6 million more than you might have had to. You're going to pay Dak Prescott $60 million a year. Like, don't wait. Get them done early. You can make Dak Prescott highest paid quarterback in the league. Save yourself $4 million a year.
I think Collins is top 7. You say top 10. I say top 7.
I mean, I wasn't prepared to do the thing.
Yeah. I know. I get it. I just wanted to.
I just gave a number that I feel really comfortable. It's like, I'm not going to get more that I feel like he would not be included in.
Right. Sam says, with exceptions for special. Sam Teets. Yep. With exceptions for special players like Travis Hunter, drafting positional hybrids like Harold Perkins with day 1 and day 2 draft picks is bad business. The idea of positionless football in college produces too many prospects without positions.
I think this is a fair take. And I really, injury aside for Harold Perkins is like the example from this year's class. Maybe late 3rd round. Like, I feel like, what's the pick threshold where you feel like I should be getting a starter early inside pick X in the NFL draft?
When you say early starter, do you mean a year 1 starter?
Yeah, like ideally.
Man, I think that might be top 50.
Right. So anything past top 50.
Right.
I think you can maybe expand it to 75 in some classes. Like first half of the 3rd round.
There's a lot of variables,
but if you're getting into like all developmental players by the end of the 3rd round and you're in the comp pick window in the 3rd round,
right.
like I can see it being worth it in some cases. I'm not specific. I don't know what to do with Harold Perkins right now specifically, but that's kind of my thought there. I think expectations for the 101st pick in the draft, that's still technically a 3rd round pick versus the 65th pick or the 49th pick. Like, that's still very dramatically different, even though they're both day 2 picks.
Zayvon Collins, Isaiah Simmons. It's just like, man, probably would be different conversations if those guys were 3rd rounders. So, all right. Next one here, Vontel. Spicy.
He's back.
This one's good. This one's good. Michigan will have 3 players get drafted before Georgia has a player drafted.
All right, so the 3 players in question would be Will Johnson, Mason Graham.
And there's that other defensive tackle. They got the tight end.
Kenneth Grant. The Loveland wouldn't go before a Georgia player.
Georgia's got Malachi Starks.
Carson Beck.
Boy, this is tough, man. And that edge, Michael Williams.
Yeah, I think I'm selling this take, but I like the spirit of it because the spirit of it really is that Kenneth Grant. And I know Trevor Sikkema on NFL Stock Exchange this past week just had like a big gas up moment for Kenneth Grant. And it's well deserved. He's a 330-pound, like athletic big guy who's on Feldman's freaks list, right? Yeah. So how late does that? I think there's a perfect storm where maybe if he is kind of the guy who continues to ascend throughout the season, he is a top 20, maybe top 20 selection, but I still feel like Carson Beck's going.
I do too. It's a fun.
He had a bad, ugly first half against Alabama, and I get that, but there's been like a developmental curve for him playing without Bowers and McConkey, and the guys who have stepped in there aren't Bowers and McConkey, and I think you kind of saw him. The light bulb come on and say, "Look, if I can make some plays, we're gonna get back in this game. I just got to give my guys a chance to make some plays."
Well, and I think the league accepts Beck as a quarterback like that, and I think once that you reach that level of like the league's in on you, it doesn't. A bad half against Alabama ain't gonna matter. It just isn't. Yeah. Joe at work. The 2025 NFL Draft will be the first class since '96 where a non-quarterback, non-trench player goes number 1 overall. I think one of these quarterbacks will go. He's referring to Travis Hunter. That's what he's saying. Travis Hunter is number 1 pick.
I get it.
Or Will Johnson. Maybe
Depends on the team.
Does it? What team could realistically get the number one pick that wouldn't pick the quarterback?
Jacksonville.
Okay. Wouldn't they trade? Because
They
presumably
could,
they have a different.
It takes two to tango, right? Like you need a trade part. It's easier in theory to trade. And that would be my question. If the team lands with the number one overall pick, and they don't need a quarterback, how much would a team be willing to go up and get their quarterback of choice in a class where it seems like all the guys at least have some level of a question?
Kyle, I saw the Carolina Panthers move heaven and earth for Bryce Young, the least deserving number one pick of all time.
Some people saw that coming. And
I'm just saying
so I don't know what to tell you on that one.
Validates the possibility that somebody's going to trade up. Like if somebody fell in love with Bryce Young to that extent, you don't think it could be true for Cam Ward or Jalen Milroe or one of these quarterbacks?
Could be. Absolutely. I just don't think.
So you're more open to the idea this happens. I think that the take's wrong, and you think there's a possibility. That's where we're at with it.
I think there's a modest possibility depending on the team.
All right. Fun stuff coming up on the other side of it. Folks, be sure to stick with us. PrizePicks is America's number one daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. PrizePicks is the only real money daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy, so that way your lineups stay in play even if one of your guys gets hurt. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONNFL on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game.
Do you think PrizePicks had Kirk Cousins over 500 passing yards?
I think whatever they had it at, if you had over, you're real happy.
Kirk surpassed their number. I think.
Yeah, you're happy about it. Yeah. All right, we got good stuff in this segment. I'm excited about it. Let's start with this one from JD. Teams should think long and hard about what's happening with guys like Sam Darnold, Geno Smith, and even Andy Dalton compared to Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, and Caleb Williams. It's okay to spend draft capital on a guy and develop him over time rather than risk wasting your draft capital altogether.
We know this is sloppier than this, though, right? There's a pressure to win. There's a pressure to play.
Yeah.
How easy is it to – how many owners are going to sit around for 5 years to have a quarterback investment materialize?
How many careers are we going to keep ruining? Like at some point you got to have a commitment to a philosophy and a system and give it a chance to take on its life, or else you're going to be in this perpetual cycle of just changing everything all the time. You're never going to get anywhere. Right. Like for some teams, I think it's probably does make a lot more sense to examine some of these reclamation projects as opposed to throwing a dart when the rest of your team's not ready to go. And ask yourself hard questions.
That's a whole other conversation, right? It's like, how ready are you to onboard a quarterback?
Right. But the problem is then you would have told yourself that the 2023 Houston Texans were not ready to.
But for everyone that does that, how many are there that
brother? It's not easy. It's not easy. Right?
There's no perfect. I think that's
circumstantial. It truly is.
Do you think this is also applicable to offensive linemen to some degree as well?
So the idea of drafting an offensive lineman early to really fix your offensive line problems when typically they don't come in and play well.
Right. And I know there's been studies about when the growth rates yield results for offensive linemen. And at times it's year 3, sometimes year 4 for offensive linemen, is when they make the big jump in their level of play, just because the college game is so different than the pro game. And I'm not sitting here advocating for not drafting, but it's you almost have to try to become an offensive line factory as a team. And you see a team like Baltimore who had Daniel Faalele sitting in the system for a few years before he had an opportunity to play. And it hasn't been great right now, but he also hasn't had the reps. So it's how's it going to play out? They draft Andrew Voorhees because he fell because he had an injury during the pre-draft process. and fell till late day 3 and get him in. And that's why they feel justified in letting good offensive linemen, 3 starters out the building for them.
That Linderbaum guy's good. You seen this guy?
That
Holy smokes.
Too, right? Like,
good player, man. Good player.
I don't know. And I know people point to the Chiefs as kind of the gold standard, as one of the gold standards of like, oh, they went out and they lost the Super Bowl and they invested in their offensive line. They draft Creed Humphrey because he fell into their lap and it was too good of a value to pass up. And then they draft Trey Smith in spite of the medicals and got him in the 6th round?
Yeah, it was late.
So like
just keep investing. Just keep investing in the offensive line all the time. Figure it out.
Right. I think it needs to be a volume proposition for you.
Yeah.
And I think you need to have guys in the pipe ready to go before you need them.
Correct.
Because that same thing can be applicable. A lot of times, if you draft a guy to be the savior on your offensive line and come in as a rookie, some guys can do it. But the collection of guys that are not, more often than not, and need time, far surpasses that, I think.
Phil has a 2-parter here. And the second part is, quite frankly, more important than the first part. The first part is the Titans will finish with the number 1 overall pick in the draft. I agree with you, no. But this is the part where we really got to get into things. Phil says, how do you put on your socks and shoes? Is it sock, shoe, shoe, or sock, shoe, shoe?
Who does sock, shoe, shoe?
That's the question I need to have. Who's doing that?
Who's not putting socks on until it's time to go?
Could you imagine having an incomplete profile on one foot and being all the way ready to go on the other?
They got Mac Hollins on one side and
right. And Rambo on the other, like I can't live like that.
Please let us know if you do assemble your footwear sock shoe. Because I just want to talk for a few minutes.
I'm sitting here, I'm like, I never thought this was a possibility. I can't wait to bring this up in the off chance that Kyle is one of these people. And it turns like we're both on the right side of the way.
I wear my socks around the house.
Oh, that's crazy. Now that's absolute. My goal in life is to never have socks on.
Hold on. Time out.
Yeah.
Miscontext here. If I'm walking around the house, I'm wearing socks. But like if I'm in my office before going to bed at night, then I'm barefoot. But if I got to go down the basement and get stuff out of the basement, or I want to go out to the garage, like I don't want to be barefoot and do that.
Oh, I'm always barefoot. 90% of. Oh, absolutely.
Sidewalk.
I go outside every night with my daughter playing the backyard, and I'm literally just barefoot out there in the backyard. Yeah, but it's because I didn't have shoes on at all day. If I don't put socks on in a day, that's a good day. I've invested in these cane shoes, which pretty much never requires me to wear socks.
With the canes, you saw somebody had canes on, and you were all excited.
Right, because I went in on the cane shoes like a year ago, and people thinking I'm crazy, taking heat from my wife. The next thing you know, I'm seeing every football player in the world wearing the cane shoes.
So it's no socks. It's like a slip-on sneaker with holes. That's like a full-footed Croc. Is that what you're talking about here?
Okay. So don't invoke Crocs. I know that there's some similarities, but these are different. These are active recovery shoes. They're made from. Dude, come on. I'm not going to sit here and do a promo for Kane, but they're amazing.
#no free pub.
Right. Sponsor the show. I'd love to be an ambassador for you. Bub has this one, and I need to put something in the chat, just in the off chance that you haven't seen it. Bub says Western Kentucky has the best mascot in the country, and it's about time he got his own uniforms. And if you will take a look at the what I shared in the chat, you will see. Topper. Yeah. Are we not talking enough about this? Whatever this is. I mean, it looks like it could be something from.
It's Grimace's cousin.
Who's that? Grimace.
He had his own shake.
Oh. How do I look this guy up?
What type Grimace? Grimace.
Grimace. Oh yeah, this guy from
McDonald's. That's right. Yeah,
I didn't know that was his name. No, Grimace, I don't think a lot of people know that's his name. But that's what I was thinking.
They do know it's his name because he got his own shake, and it was the Grimace shake, and all kinds of weird TikTok and Instagram videos started coming out about people spoofing how you drink this shake, and it turns into like a monster and stuff.
Yeah, I didn't see any of that, but that's who this is. So does that take away from this Hilltopper thing?
No.
You see their helmets this week with just the eyes?
Just the eyeballs. Yeah, it's cool. It's funny. I can take him.
There's a fun factor here, but it's not the best mascot in the country.
Correct.
All right. Fun factor, though. Remember, the rule of cool. It matters. This one from Always Trade Back. As bad as some teams have looked, it's a rare offseason where we only see 3 head coaches fired. Robert Saleh, Doug EP, and Brian Daboll. Sirianni could be number 4. AP, Stefanski, and Taylor get on the hot seat but survive. Probably see a flurry of coordinators changed. Only 3. Kyle, I never underestimate the NFL and their ability to move on from coaches. I'm taking the over on 3.5 is basically what he's saying.
Okay. Doug? Daboll. Dallas?
Oh, yeah. Sirianni, you don't think that guy can go?
Sirianni, depending on how Philly plays out. Saleh, depending on how the Jets play out.
Eberflus is teetering. I think we can definitely get to
if the Colts end up being a disaster, is Steichen on the hot seat at all? This is year 3?
It's year 2.
Year 2?
Yeah.
So probably not. Stefanski's an interesting call out if the bottom totally falls out.
Right. Which is funny because the next take is about Stefanski.
How bad do things end up being with... I'll take the over on 3.5.
I'm smashing the over at 3.5. All right, we got some Stefanski. We're talking peanut butter, all kinds of stuff on the other side of it, folks. Be sure to stick with us. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same place where you place your bets. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com to download America's #1 sportsbook.
So you wear these canes out, like outside?
Oh, I wear them
for
literally ever. No, never. I wore them. I was in the mountains with my family like 3 weeks ago.
You didn't get sticks and rubble and
no,
leaves?
Dude, I was walking in a river with these things on. Nah, dude. These things
in the river.
I wear them forever. If I go on a date with my wife, I have multiple pairs of them. So like I have some that are like my dress canes. If I'm wearing like
dress
shorts and a
canes.
polo. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like with shorts and a polo, go on a date with my wife, I will wear them every single time. Yes.
Are you at all disappointed that NC State didn't make the college collection?
I have okay, Joe's take. Miss me with team apparel that's footwear. I don't want any of it. I don't want Bill's shoes, sneakers. I don't want flip-flops with a logo. I don't want any of that. Footwear is not the place for team apparel.
Oh, yeah, the Alabama ones are cool though. It's got roll and tied. Roll on one shoe and tied on the other.
What's your take on this? Are you buying Dolphins shoes?
I don't actively search it out.
Like the Nike Pegasus, people get excited about them. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. And the thing is, the Nike Pegasus is a good sneaker. Like I like that sneaker, but I don't need it to be red, white, and blue with the Bills logo. That's not.
I got gifted a pair 2 years ago of the Nike Pegasus for Miami, and I've worn it to games. They're comfortable sneakers. But like I would wear it to games and be about it. I can't be like I'd go to the gym wearing it. You know what I mean?
They're great sneakers though.
Yeah, they're comfy.
I have a regular pair of Nike Pegasus that it's just regular. Okay, let's do this. First and Finn's take Kevin Stefanski should be the most sought after coaching candidate outside of Ben Johnson if the Browns decide to part ways with him after the season. We got to cool down on Ben Johnson, right? Like he's a very good offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. He has turned down every opportunity in the world to be a head coach. And I think there's some stubbornness with the way that he calls games and like his approach that I would be nervous about as a head coach. I think he's a very good offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I don't think he just hasn't shown an appetite to be a head coach right now. So it's like until that changes, I'm not going to put him at the top of every list.
We already know that exists, right? Like if you have the capacity for that, what's going to happen when things are tough and you're the head coach of a football team and you're like, there was a point in my life where I didn't even really want this. I would be not interested. Completely not interested.
Stefanski's done a great job in the midst of a lot of adversity. I don't think there's any question there. What? He's won Coach of the Year twice?
Yeah. Yes.
So
isn't that crazy? Like Ron Rivera 2 times, right? What? There's nothing very synonymous with Coach of the Year awards.
I just hold my breath anytime we bring up Ron Rivera.
Brian Daboll, Coach of the Year.
On this program. Ron Rivera, don't know when Joe's going to give you the tangent of, did you
great
know
man.
how many times
great man.
had a winning record as a coach in the NFL?
Hey, I want to be that mid at my job and just continue to have opportunity. You know,
I told you. This is why I'm holding my breath. And Ron Rivera came up.
You poked. You poked. I had to take it.
I didn't do anything. You brought him up.
Are you in on Stefanski? Would you be? Does that excite you? I think I'd be happy with it if I was a team in search of a head coach.
Yeah, especially because you kind of know what you're getting, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think there's something to be said for experience at that position. I think he'd be a great head coaching candidate. You have proof of concept there. You've seen him work through adversity. You've seen him keep his teams on track in spite of multiple quarterbacks in a season. Bringing in a player mid-season and continuing to win football games. Yeah, I think he'd be a great candidate if somebody needs a head coach. I'll
say this, that we have so many good takes this week. We're not going to get to them all, but I do have two more good ones that I want to get to. Josh Allen's stats. The only peanut butter worth eating is either crunchy or inside of a Reese's cup. Kyle's gone.
It's disgusting.
Wait.
The only peanut butter that's worth eating is crunchy
or inside a Reese's cup.
Well, there's plenty of great ways to eat peanut butter that doesn't involve crunchy peanut butter or a Reese's cup.
I think this is a terrible take. Peanut butter's amazing. Now, I will say my wife has ruined peanut butter for me because now it's has to be like a special kind where it's like separate and you have to like stir it and keep it in the fridge. It's terrible. Like not nearly as good as whatever.
Oh, it's the organic.
Yeah.
All the oil sits on the top.
Right. Yeah.
Not differ.
Boy, it sucks. There's no question about it. It just is not as good as the regular peanut butter that the rest of the world's eating. But it's delicious. It's absolutely delicious. I'm surprised that I don't think Josh Allen's stats is going to get a lot of momentum on this.
No, I don't think he is. Not from this program anyway.
No, not at all. All right, we got to do this one to close it out. Keith says the show's favorite team, the Packers, will go undefeated in October and November, but wrap the season by losing 3 of 5 in December and January and finishing the season as a 12-5 wild card team.
All right, so they're going to go undefeated in October.
What's the games? You got them?
That means they're going to play at Rams, home against Cardinals, home against Texans, in Jacksonville.
Okay, reasonable. Feel good about it. What about November? He's got them winning all the games in November.
Home against Detroit.
Okay.
Bye week. In Chicago. Home against the 49ers. Home against the Dolphins.
This feels less likely to me.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to win all those.
Okay, and he has them losing 3 of 5 in December and January.
All right, so after that point, in Detroit, in Seattle, home against New Orleans, in Minnesota, home against the Bears. I'll take them to.
They could probably do better than that. I don't know. I would say it's unlikely that this is going to go as likely as Keith has outlined here. I think there's a path for them to get to 12-5. I don't know if this is it.
I would agree with that.
You think that 12-5 doesn't win the North?
Depending on tiebreakers, it could not.
How good is Minnesota just going to be this good forever?
I
know some people think that Darnold started to show some of his tendencies in that second half last week. Some of the turnovers, right? We'll see.
I still think good. I still think they'll be a double-digit team. I think they're too good defensively. They have great skill players. They're getting Hawkinson back. They have good coach in O'Connell.
We have 3 double-digit win teams in the North?
Yeah, I'll buy that take.
Yeah, I think that's probably true.
I'll buy that take. You got any other ones? Or
tons of good ones. Tons of good ones.
Come on, we're only 29 minutes.
Ryan says Jesse Minter will keep the Chargers as a top 5 to 10 defense and be a head coach within the next 2 years. It's been a Michigan defensive coordinator to NFL defensive coordinator to head coach. We've seen that happen.
Right.
I think the Chargers defense has probably been better than I thought it was going to be. I'll say that. To this point in the season. I mean, it seems like he's got that type of makeup.
Have they played impressive offenses? I know they played Kansas City without Pacheco and Rashee Rice goes down. And I don't know. I think he's a great coach. I'd say that. I don't know that I have enough information to glean with any confidence how high he's going to go.
I'll say, yeah, I think that's a possibility. That's what I'll say.
Give me one more.
You want to talk holding or hook and ladder? Hook and lateral, excuse me. Holding. Holding. DJ, holding should be a 5-yard penalty. Killing a drive based on something that happens virtually every play is archaic.
So I see where he's going with this. But defensive players would be pissed. Like, it's already so hard for us to play. And now you're going to cut the penalty yardage for a hold in half.
Do you remember? I think what has to happen here is it needs to be like definitive and like part of the result of the play. That's what I would say.
Can you make it 5 yards from the spot of the foul?
Isn't it from the spot of the foul? Isn't holding it's 10 yards from the spot?
I can't say that with any.
Dude, that always get crossed up in that. 5 yards from the spot of the. Are you sure that it's not? I'm pretty sure that is true. It's 10 yards from the spot of the foul.
Holding?
Yes, I'm pretty sure that's true.
In college or in
the National Football League? Yeah.
No.
Are you sure?
If it's downfield,
right? That's what I'm saying.
But if you're 3 yards deep into your pass set and you hold somebody as an offensive tackle and you grab the guy by the collar and you pull him down,
right?
It's 10 yards from the line of scrimmage. If it
right. Yeah. I know. I'm just saying, like, there's that down the field that does happen.
and that element exists. Can you expand that to all holds
and make it 5 yards?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like that. I also think it's ridiculous to give automatic first downs for a lot of the defensive penalties. Insane to me.
Right.
Like what? Oh, illegal contact.
5-yard penalty.
3rd and 20.
Right.
What?
Away from the progression. So it really has nothing to do with the play.
That sucks, man. I don't like that at all. Mike says the hook and ladder is the best trick play in football. If executed perfectly, it is unstoppable, and there are so many different ways to run it.
How many times has it been executed perfectly?
Mike tells me that as a high school offensive coach, he called it 2 to 3 times a game, and it always worked. I know that's different, but if you just did it like not like in the middle of the game, like a normal situation, I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
I think you probably catch a lot of people off guard, but there's the first time it doesn't work and it's fumbled or muffed and you turn the ball over.
I don't know. I've seen that happen to trick plays for my whole life, and they still continue to get run. It's just a shame that Kadarius Toney lined up in the neutral zone, so that way with the greatness was taken away.
That's going to do it for us.
Could have really changed the game.
Glad we got that sob story from Mahomes to Josh Allen on the 50-yard line after the game. That's going to do it for us here on Locked On NFL Scouting. I'm Kyle Crabbs. He is Joe Marino. We appreciate you guys checking out the show. Make it a great rest of your day. Make it a great weekend. Enjoy all of the football that awaits you. We will be back on Monday to break it all down. You find us on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.